Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader, where today things are not quite going as envisioned. But you know, I'm really kind of two minds on the subject. I guess we'll just see how this plays out. Oh, wow. So we are just straight up kibbles now. Interesting. Stale air, oppressive noise. The hum and whir of machinery drown out all thoughts. This place rings with tension. Is it the powerful energy coursing through the cables? Or have the wails of the workers merged into a cacophony of indignant whispers and desperate prayers? Lost, mired in petty troubles, unmindful of their duties, their voices creak as if covered in rust, and their eyes are dimmed by the endless drudgery and lack of light here on the working decks of the Damon's great ark. I have seen it before. In these murky depths, people become creatures all too ready to devour each other for worldly gains, fleeting pleasures, or imaginary freedom from obligation, born from the abyss of spiritual emptiness. The Undying One punishes them through me. Disgusting mutations, abominations, reflections of vice are born in these shadows, and I will be their doom. I've got to say, this is very weird after 100+ hours as Valen. The thread shakes, the web is taut. I step silently. May the great hunt begin. The thread shakes. The quarry always leaves a trail. We may not see it, but we can feel it. I taste the air, the scent of fresh dye with a subtle note of sparks. This is new, pleasant. The upper decks reek of luxury, but here I feel comfortable. There is something else. This is it. I recognize the smell. Unguent, low and burnt meat. Just like inside the shrine. The time has come to spin the scarlet web. The web is taut. Know the hunting ground. To find the enemy, I must listen. Inhale, exhale, inhale. The rhythmic beat of engines and pumps. That is the ship's breathing. That is the ship's heartbeat. Is it strange that I feel at home among the workers of the lower decks, who pass their time like the living dead? Warmth spreads through my chest. I like to think that it is the connection with which the Undying One bound my and the Damon's fates together. He has blessed us, and we hunt as one. I step silently. Darkness is our ally. Merge with the shadows. In the twilight of the chamber, barely illuminated by flickering candlelight, I become like them, the lost, mired servants. They will become unwitting allies in my hunt. Their hopelessness, their desperation, their thirst for survival will become tools for my use. Where is the second spinner? We were supposed to meet here. You know that feeling when you're being stared at, but you can't tell who by or where from? I'm getting that now. Footsteps? Two are coming. Toward me. Familiar gaits. Those are the Damon's servants. I would not be surprised if the cultists set out on the trail of Nemesis alone. The spinners are arrogant. We are just another soul to them, a gift to offer death. Steel Mistress's voice is hard and cold, like her will. I can see in her eyes that she dislikes me. She is wary, and so she should be, for we serve the Damon, not one another. Does this remind you of anyone at all, Jocasta? This man is enamored with fire. Even his words sound full of biting flames. And he himself enjoys playing with fire. Too much so. They bicker again. Their mutual animosity may disrupt the hunt. Interesting. On the one hand, I am kind of fascinated here, but it also does feel like a bit much. Like Kibbles is writing a book in her head. This really could have just been an illustrated story event. To the lay people, the two are now scarcely distinguishable from the common serfs. In a world where status and privilege are defined by appearance, a single piece of rotten cloth is enough to lower your standing. We will become spectral hounds and follow the trail without drawing attention. I step forward. I am here. There she is. Welcome to the plasma drive chambers, esteemed holy assassin. You can exchange pleasantries later. Lieutenant Gaudierda is on duty in this compartment. I have ordered her to gather information on all the workers who wear red scarves and who have recently left the bay. This is pointless. The red scarf is not proof of guilt. It is merely a symbol. It could be a trap. I need to find her. I will watch the Enforcer and those who are watching her in turn. Your Enforcers know nothing about life in this compartment. I guarantee it. I have a better source of information, a good friend of mine who knows a lot about delicate matters. It would be easy to get him to talk. He's terrified of pain. And death. Only the faithless fear death. I will not trust him. Let him trust me so that his trust may become a snare for my hunt. I cut them off with a gesture. Their methods of hunting are not mine. But I take the grain of truth from their words and weave it into my plan. We need to provoke them into making a move. Okay, so instill a false sense of security and then lure them into a trap? Instill a false sense of impunity. Convince them that they can and must act now. This Enforcer who answers to Steel Mistress is the symbol of order and obedience in these chambers. She is standing in the way. When she disappears, my enemies will believe it is safe to strike. And that will be a costly mistake. Oh, okay, so I don't actually have a choice here. She's already formulated her plan. We're just going through the motions for her. Interesting. Alright, well, lay it all out for us. Intimidate them with an impending threat. Flaming Voice relies on a talker, one who keeps no secrets and fears pain. An unreliable vessel is bad for holding secrets, but good for spilling them. Through him, I will whisper lies to the enemy. So plant rumors, remove the Enforcer, then kill whoever takes the bait. And then we will strike out the spark that will ignite the flame. I feel them lurking in the crowd. My enemies. They are cautious. I must find them and let them believe their luck. Then they will shed their masks. And I will take them down. Such is my plan. They look at me in silence. They do not understand yet, but that matters little. I am on the hunt. Yeah, I mean, I can't really blame them for looking at you weird. That was like 95% in your head. It is kind of amusing. It really does sort of highlight that as silent as Kibbles often seems, she's got this, like, constant film noir narrator running in her head. It almost makes me want to read all of her narration in, like, a Sam Spade detective voice. But I feel like we're in this for the long haul, so I do not think... I feel like that would wear pretty thin pretty quick. As it stands, I already feel kind of weird just doing her voice so much. I do find it very interesting to find ourselves, like, literally in another character's shoes. Okay, I guess we'll just start poking around. I don't know why you're here, but I hope it's not to take me away. Okay, so really nothing from the generics. I think the only important characters are the ones she gives these nicknames to. An old burn spread across her body in a scarlet blotch. A look of contempt. A heavy baton, covered in blood and symbolizing boundless power. Like a fierce leather whip, she lashes with both her hand and her gaze. What are you looking at, you beggars? You finish your shift, you go to the barracks. You start your shift, you check in with the foreman and get to work. Before Matilda comes to pat you on the back. Okay, so you're an asshole. Got it. And Matilda, I presume, is that wonderful, not at all intimidating baton on your belt? I guess our disguise is working, but I'd rather not spend the next few watches in the medbay because of a misunderstanding. His breathing has quickened. Flaming voice always makes jests when he is nervous. Or irritated. Do enforcers infuriate him? What? No. That's crazy. You're crazy. Infernus, Master. Master-at-Arms. Apologies for not recognizing you, ma'am. Godirda, we are conducting an inquest. Answer the spinner's questions. I hope your report will be useful. Whip. What can your scars reveal to me? With my 37 awareness, I am not a very good detective. Day after day, she watches the serfs labor away, exhausting their last vestiges of strength. And there is no compassion in her eyes. They are simply a resource she is commanded to use and then discard. She hates them because she blames them for her pain, her wounds. Gotta say, I'm pretty curious what we might have missed there. But, as per usual, we roll with it. Let the dice fall where they may. Nothing is unimportant during the hunt. Tell me what you know, and I will listen. A group of workers wearing red scarves were seen in the compartment just after the attack on the shrine. The foreman stated that they were at work on the freight line. No gunpowder on their clothes, no fresh wounds. Too many of them have started wearing red masks, and it muddles the trail. But we also found some red scarves and bloody rags in one of the shredders only shortly afterwards. To shreds, you say? We sealed off the exits and reduced the air supply to the maintenance tunnels to the absolute minimum. Now you can't stand there longer than a few minutes without passing out. There's no way the bastards could have left the plasma chambers. They're definitely in here somewhere. Like snakes, the servants of Nemesite have shed their skin. The red scarf is just a distraction. I let the two enforcers converse. I keep an eye on those around us. The workers hide their eyes, but I can hear the murmurs echoing through the bay. There is an impotent rage in their hearts directed at Whip, for she is the embodiment of the very order they despise. But why do they not realize the enforcer is a shield as much as a lash? Some of the people I escorted to the other side looked at me the same way. In the past, I did not understand, but now Do the lay people see spinners performing their duty to the Undying One, or enforcers performing theirs to the Daemon? As monsters? Oh wow, she's really having an are we the bad guys moment. That's not where I thought this was going. Though there is something to be said there, of course, about the lower caste lacking nuance on the bigger picture. Do I sense the touch of his will? The Undying Emperor wishes to bestow a revelation upon me in this trying hour. Let his tarot show me the way. I breathe in essence made from the ashes and blood of the faithful. It enlightens the mind, granting it the grace of reading his signs. A wave of epiphany sweeps my thoughts away, pulling me into a blessed trance. My fingers move of their own accord over the sacred deck and draw a card. It is the martyr. I see a tear of blood wash over the pale features on the image, and they shift, becoming Whip's face. Oh, okay. A portent from him. The Undying One blesses me to take Whip. The minions of Nemesis fear her. When her soul is delivered to the Undying One, the traitors will feel invulnerable. They will crawl out of their holes and fall into my web. Right, I mean, I don't want you to just start stabbing enforcers, but at the same time I did literally just say, you have to look at the bigger picture. The Daemon forbade the spinners to cut the threads of his subjects. I will have to go against the will of my lord to protect him and the Ark. And if punishment follows, I am ready to accept it. My duty to the Daemon comes before my life. I know how the Whip's thread will end. Yeah, that's fair. I cannot sever Whip's thread with a blade, for the serfs would recognize me as one of the spinners and lose all courage. But the spark of the machine spirits in the plasma drive chambers has already claimed the lives of many. I will use this, and thus the web will be spun. Make it look like an accident, sure, yeah. I mean, I see where she's going with it. Can't say I'm crazy to kill someone, but then again, I suppose they did immediately set Whip up as being a fairly unsympathetic individual. So how exactly are we supposed to do this? Looks like she's on a patrol route now, so obviously... Oh. A reservoir of technical fluid. If it leaks, the power of the conductive charge will spread imperceptibly across the floor. Oh, well. Ask and ye shall receive. We're going full Final Destination on this one. That was an interesting film series, right up until they couldn't figure out what they wanted to do with it. Then it just got silly. We will hold off on that for the moment. Well, I mean... Okay, it is too early. The quarry must not see the hunter set the snare. Yeah, I guess I could have really timed that better, couldn't I? You know what? Let's hold off. Let's hold off on that. I'm having immediate second thoughts regardless. We should at least finish looking around before we start, murdering people. We've all been there. Listen. Boy, do I have a story to tell. How come the enforcers haven't flogged you stupid for all your stories yet? Okay. Let us become one with the shadows. The lay people have huddled together like a herd being chased by predators. Faded gazes, bent backs, and crimson kisses of batons on their bodies. And yet, shadows of smiles touch their dirty, burnt lips as a strange pair like a hammer and anvil, send sparks into the air with their words. What are these two talking about? Hammer and anvil. And then the lever smacked you right in the kisser? Ha! Give or take a tooth, this is nothing. Bruises, burns, cuts. That's just life. Just remind yourself how you come home after your shift, having exchanged your ration card for a bowl of soup. How your little ones gulp that bowl down, how they fall asleep feeling a little better. I say that's worth a hard day's work. And a punch in the face. He smiles, broad-shouldered with a rusty beard. He is not afraid to share laughter with others. And so the crimson shades from the beatings never leave his face. His voice is bright and sonorous, and listened to. Not everyone here is as chipper and thick-skinned as you. A bowl of soup is great, he says. What about having to choose which of your 3 kids gets it? Is that great too? Beatings are nothing, he says. Remember when the enforcers broke your arm? Says you couldn't work, your wife had to pull 3 shifts. She collapsed at the lathe and the conductive charge burned out her eyes. None of us deserve that. Tough and unyielding, every word hurts, but she is forgiven for her sincerity. They listen to her to pull themselves together, to share a common pain. Interesting. I will come back later. My hunt has just begun. So hammer, anvil, whip. There's a lot to glean from the nicknames she gives people, like hammer and anvil over there. They definitely work best as a pair. Infernus emergency worker. I mean, they do have a reason to be here, but I guess just seeing the Inferni around at this point kind of makes me inherently suspicious. Stain. Long time no see, Spindle. Tell me, what does silence taste like? Are they using a secret code? Without flaming voice, he would never even speak to me. Everyone knows silence don't taste like anything. If you want to earn rations, you better start dealing in words. He speaks casually, but his voice is slimy and slippery. His eyes are as dirty as an oil-stained garment. The impudence in his gaze and words when he turns them to us. He is unclean, and he knows it. He is unrepentant. That's a funny look, Heinrich, and you have a funny-looking company. Are you here to sell or buy? And before you answer, remember the first rule. Every word has a price. Are we bargaining for information from this lowlife now? It is the duty of every serf to aid the rogue trader and his associates, freely and willingly. Oh boy, here it comes. Who's that with you? An enforcer? And a spinner? Do you want me dead? If anyone sees me talking to you, they'll snap my neck. So, off you go. The peddler of words is trembling in fear for his life. I must extract answers from him. But by what means? Well, gosh, Kibbles, that is quite the conundrum you have found yourself in. Did you, perhaps consider the one thing you're good at? The quelling stimulant in the needle's tip will loosen Stain's tongue. Ow, what the... What is this feeling? So calm. Fine, ask whatever you want, but then leave. My reputation cost me a lot of blood, and I didn't earn it to have it trampled into dust because you people happened to stop by. One glance is enough for me to see your true self, Stain. You are a liar and manipulator, peddling other people's secrets and not knowing how to keep your mouth shut. You will become the bait, sowing confusion among the minions of Nemesis, who hope to wait out the lockdown. They think they have enough time? I will deprive them of that confidence. Where do things stand in the plasma drive chambers? Speak briefly. Speak sense. There's a bunch of workers in the far corner who now gather between every shift, whispering to each other. They don't invite me, they say I talk too much. Well, if they're scared of my tongue, that means they have something to hide. And of course, everyone's talking about Nemesis. Sure, the foundry and the chapel were big, but he's been helping people all over. A lot of folks are sticking with him now. You can knock my teeth out if I'm lying. Don't got many of those left anyhow. But I'll tell you this, even if someone finds him, they won't rat him out. Understood. There will be a raid soon. Be careful. I warn you in appreciation for your cooperative nature. What are you... That information is not meant for his ears. Really? I see. Well, if that's all you wanted, then, Can I go? Go, Stain, and be my herald. It is difficult to admit, but I do share the Master-at-Arms' indignation. We came here to get information about the traitors, not to reveal our secrets. Let's not tip our hand, not to Einrich. See, another big tell here is going to be if Einrich ends up trying to ultimately foil our undercover sting. In a way, we're trying to bait him out just as much as we are the Nemesis, assuming, of course, they're not both one and the same. This was done in service of the Daemon. You are free to believe me, or walk away. There's no need to be so drastic, is there? We started this together, and we will finish it together. Yeah, well, we'll see. Also, we can see the conversation going on up top that we saw last time around. The one about the worker due for servitorization because he burned his hand off touching the reactor. Might just be a coincidence, but that could also be our guy, the one that Kibbles tracked down here with her totally not psychic powers. A cable thrumming with the power of the conductive charge. A single swing of the blade will send the Enforcer's soul to the Undying One. So I guess we do have to kill the whip? They haven't really presented us with much in the way of other options. Right. So now we wait. Actually, let's go check on Hammer and Anvil again. See if they say anything new now that we've planted the seed. I see you lot have all taken off your red scarves. No longer feel like playing Nemesis, do you? Spindle, that son of a Grox. His mouth is like a sieve, and I'm not talking about the missing teeth. If you don't put on a scarf, you become someone's enemy. The same goes if you do. Someone from the chambers attacked the temple, then turned them over to the enforcers. I don't want to die for someone else's crime. Interesting. Okay, so he did shake some things loose. Let us once again become one with the shadows. The lay people have once again huddled together. Let us see if anyone has fallen into my web. Did you hear what happened? Nemesis didn't stop at the foundry business. He's been roaming the upper decks, too. They say he went to the vessel's shrine and shot some nobles. And then he fled down into the chambers, so now a punitive squad is on its way. Prepare your backs. This is gonna hurt. The frightened herd sways, humming with whispers. In their eyes, the fires of anxiety flicker. Careless, suggestible people. I will come back later. Not all of the snares have been set. Okay, guess it's time to crack the whip. Damn it. Why did it have to be Godirda? I don't know why the Emperor ordered you to kill her, but we must see to it that she did not die in vain. And just like that, she's gone. She'll never even know what she died for. Meanwhile, the spinners go on passing whatever judgment they please. I mean, to be fair, I feel like we've got some plausible deniability. We set our trap over here. She died like 50 feet away, tripping on some stairs.
Death walks with me.
Matilda? All right, let's see what we got. Did the Enforcer just up and die, or did she have a little help? Who cares? I just wish they'd take the body away soon. Last time, the stench made me sick for the entire shift. And back into the shadows. Ungrateful scum. We guard them and they dance on our bones. I will remember that face, and I will come back. Your plan appears to have worked, Spinner. The air itself is charged with something, and it is not the conductive charge. The serfs, they are stirring. I listen to the rapid beating of their hearts. The lay people are frightened, angry. They feel the impunity that sprouted like a weed upon the whip's demise. They feel the threat crushing them from the upper decks, both imminent and inevitable. What are those two talking about? Hammer and anvil. I can hear their whispers, insidious and deafening. No longer do they laugh with the others. No longer do they pretend. The Enforcer is dead. The Punishers from the upper decks will soon follow Nemesite's trail. And this is our chance. We need to act. This is it. I can sense that the prey is close. They have little fear of giving themselves away anymore. They need a spark to ignite the flames. Something that will convince Nemesite's followers that they are strong, and that the Damon's servants are diminished. I wait for the right moment. They tell us this is how it's meant to be, just because they were born on the upper decks and we down below, in the darkness. Is it really the God Emperor's will that they grow fat on the fruits of our labors? Revel in luxury while we die without water or medicine? Hammer's voice rumbles, and the lay people listen. Their hands clench into fists. No matter how hard you work, they will wring everything out of you and give you nothing. Who allowed this to happen? The rogue traitor, his name be damned. A Grox on the throne, a tyrant throwing our bones into the furnace of his protectorate. Shut your foul mouth, void dog. Flaming voice. No, it is too soon. I understand your anger, but you must temper it. What did you say about the Lord Captain? The one who gives you work, food, and shelter? You insolent deadbeats. I can see why you've gathered here, and I will not let you start another rebellion. Why are you reaching for your Voxcaster? If you do not disperse, I will give the order to vent the plasma chambers. You have 5 seconds. The tyrant's lackey. If you do this, you'll die with us, you madman. To protect the Lord Captain and the crew? I see you've never met an Infernus before. Their faces are twisted with fear. Will they retreat? Will they flee? Will the hunt be thwarted? No. A small throwing blade flies out of my palm and draws a scarlet line across Anvil's neck. If I had wished it, she would be dead. But she continues to breathe and to bleed, and to scream furiously as she looks for me. The Rogue Trader's assassins are here! Look! They wanted to kill me! Find the assassins! The spark is lit. Yeah, Heinrich. We must be getting close because he went full nuclear. The lay people press in from all sides, pushing and shoving. Their faces are ablaze with terror and rage, and a violent energy boils through the mass of bodies. This power will be difficult to contain. Frightened people are dangerous people. The hunt was meant to go differently, but such is the Undying One's will. One voice rises above the others, the voice of a burly, bearded technomat. Low is the roar of a furnace. Furnace smells of sweat and sacred unguents. He is not afraid, he merely pretends to be. Beneath the shudder of terror, I hear excitement. Do we deserve to be executed, my brothers and sisters? Have we not labored with the sweat of our brow? Have we not perished from the outbursts of raging machine spirits? Why do they call us rebels? Why are we being punished? Furnace's words make the crowd seethe even more. I look closer at Furnace. Strong, heavy, enormous hands whose blows should be feared. A great belly that has become a symbol of his success. He does not starve, so those who follow him will not starve either. A powerful leader, recognized by the whole pack. I feel the flowing rage of these poor wretches. The flame burns high, for there is strong fuel at its heart. These people have amassed many grievances. The enforcers are cruel to them, for they believe that fear eradicates treason. The officers despise them, for their clothes and hands are filthy. The quartermasters rob them and withhold what is owed to them, for their clan is not strong enough to make demands. They are vulnerable. Their hearts are vulnerable. The Undying One commands us to spin a web to catch such hearts before they plunge into the abyss of treason. And so, I am spinning the web. But there is something else mixed into their righteous indignation. Something that taunts them, excites them, angers them. It is something foul hovering in the air. Aberration. My thoughts turn to Daman Valen. It is his people that are standing before me. What would he do? The one whose thread I anoint with my blood. Oh ho, we actually get to influence something, okay. See, this is interesting. I mean, it's a bit long-winded, but it does very much stress that Kibbles is ultimately her own person. It's only now that we get to potentially sway her hand via our remote connection. Though I've got to say, pretty much all these options seem pretty incendiary. Already you are rioters in everything but name. And then you ask why you have been shown no trust? My words frighten them, wound them, because they are just. And that makes their anger swell all the more. Why are you surprised? Have the officers ever treated us otherwise? A new voice, sandpaper rough, tears through the rumbling of the crowd. Its owner is ragged and filthy, and a feverish gleam burns in his eyes. His words inflame the people's mind like rot feasting upon a wound. Rot cries out mockingly. That's because you're afraid of them, but they're not afraid of you. They have the almighty baton. All you have is the source of the power that feeds the whole ship. Why should they take you for granted? It serves you right, you cowards! His ugly shriek spills like venom upon the sweating faces as they slowly draw closer and closer. There's a smell hanging over the crowd. I take a deep breath and something stupefying, noxious and luscious disturbs my senses. This is no ordinary odor, but something subtle and foul. It carries the same stench as rot. Skinny and scrawny, Rot leers at me with his gaping mouth. He is a nobody who has nothing. His body is wasted away from disease. His hands are 5 fingers short. His fate is sealed, and that makes him convincing. Everyone knows he has nothing to gain for himself, and thus no reason to lie. His poverty is his armor. I once again turn my thoughts to Daman Valen. I address the one who commands these people, and who possesses the authority to execute and pardon. Am I to hear his thoughts? The Daman takes care of all, for such is his burden. But he cannot save everyone. He only cares about his flunkies. The bile spraying from Rot's mouth sizzles in the workers' minds like acid. It is burning them through. We will not commit rebellion, but we will not allow ourselves to be slaughtered by villains either. The law and the Emperor are on our side. A young woman steps forth, slender and supple like a rapier. If they want to crush us with the fear of death, let them kill us. It will only prove our righteousness. The ringing call is a command, pressing itself into their hearts. The foul stench of sacrilege almost knocks me off my feet. I look her in the eye. She is fragile, but there is a strength in her, an authority, taken for granted and understood by everyone. She is clearly ready to command, with legions willing to die for such maidens, beautiful and resolute as they are. She carries no banner in her hand, for she herself is the banner. I focus on the fetid stench of blasphemy. That tantalizing, elusive scent of rage. It is more than a stench. It is a tool, the weapon of the despicable trio which they use to influence the minds of the laity, invisibly intoxicating their minds. The crowd reeks of flowering treason. I delve down to its root and realize what it is that rejects his will so. His sacred privilege is being attacked. He alone chooses who may journey to him. But these 3 instigators, they are determined to make this decision for themselves, dragging the souls of all around into the fires of violence with them. They are impudent upstarts who have put themselves above him, and above me, the second spinner of the blood-spun web, his chosen servant. The realization of such audacity burns my very soul. I appeal to Daman Valen. loudly and exigently. But the noise around me drowns out my thoughts and stops me from focusing on his image. Okay, well, this is not going to end well, but I guess I mean, really, I don't see any of these working. But I guess if we're going to try to minimize bloodshed, we should at least try to scare people off first. Not ideal, but, you know, shock them with the immediacy of the peril they're putting themselves in. I bare one of my blades. Do you wish to die? I swear that any one of you who follows the mutineers will perish this day. The crowd does not answer. They do not hear me. The sacred promise of death no longer moves them, for they have fallen under the enemy's spell. They surround me, threatening, pointing fingers, cursing. They dare not strike. Not yet. But already their enormous bulk presses down upon me as the smell of blood in the air grows thicker by the minute. Let's not expose the others. The crowd presses forward, harder and harder. My breath is growing short. My bones are crunching. Somebody is screaming in my face. I endure this stench. Okay, we tried, but I think it's clear at this point nothing we did was going to work. At this point, it's just self-defense. I lose myself in the dance of blood. I can bear it no longer. The blades in my hands sing, and the blood streaks across astonished faces. I am done speaking and exhorting. I merely dance on the thread that I have spun. I bestow death in blessed wounds. I catch a glimpse of Rapier's cloven face and Furnace's open belly. Rot's severed hand falls at my feet, and its owner flees, howling. I dance and breathe so freely. Oh my. It did not go the way I had planned. The smell of blood lingers in the air like the stench of impending defeat. Two bodies are sprawled before me. I have severed their threads. The third blasphemer has managed to escape, but his disembodied hand also lies on the floor. Useless meat. What can these corpses reveal to me? Very little. The faint traces of the vile mutations that twisted their bodies, the foul stench of corruption emanating from their meat, the deformed, strangely colored brains in their crushed skulls that spawned the heresy of sedition. What does the appearance of the survivors tell me? They huddle in the corners, ashamed of their own subservience. They tried to convince themselves that the blood they so foolishly spilt would absolve them, but they know it is not enough. Flaming Voice and Steel Mistress, do they still yet live? Their threads have not yet been cut. I realize with astonishment that they are standing close to me. Flaming Voice is furiously reproaching all those who had only recently joined the revolt, while Steel Mistress booms like a siren, shaking her maul in threatening punishment. They are useless to the hunt now. The time has come for the next step. A thrill runs through the strands of my consciousness. Is this Daman Valen? Can I truly feel him again, or am I imagining it? I need to concentrate. I gaze at the puddles of blood and the patterns they form. I see. A labyrinth. The Undying One has given me a sign. My hand finds the sealed case in which his tarot cards reside. It is time for a divination in the blood of the dead. It will reveal to me the name of their unholy master. I draw the beginning of the spread. The Hound. I gaze at the card and its depiction of the Astra Militarum armored vehicle that bears that formidable name. The pursuit of truth, sacrifice, and victory. This is me, and I am on the right track. I draw the middle of the spread. The Harlequin, inverted. Lies, manipulation, a shadow play blocking my path. But it is a lie exposed, a deception that must be revealed. I draw the end of the spread. The Preacher, a man who carries an idea and proclaims it. But who is it? Nemesite? One of his supporters? Someone already slain or someone still alive? The divination is unclear, and so I draw a fourth card. It is dangerous to ask more of the Undying One, but I must know. The Aquila. His holy image watches me from within the card, and my heart grows frigid with the knowledge of what it represents. Adalbert, yeah. There were some signs. The Undying One has manifested his omen in the traitor's blood. The hunt that has begun will be completed by the unveiling of a great deception. Our enemy is elusive because he has a powerful ally, one who espouses faith in the Emperor on this vessel. The ship's confessor is in league with Nemesite. He will be the next prey. Oh, and I guess that's it. Man, yeah, that was a good reveal. I mean, overall, the event did feel a bit too long. But, you know, at the same time, it did very firmly have my attention the entire time, so I can't really complain. It's weird because, you know, like on the one hand, it definitely could have just been a much shorter illustrated book event. But at the same time, that might not have carried, I guess, the same momentum or ultimate weight of the reveal that we got with the full-blown event. Really, I think my main quibble is just that we couldn't really sway it, I think. I will go back and poke at it a bit off-screen, but it does feel like it was largely a predestined path. More a story told to us, as opposed to one we actually got to participate in. Also, new trophy for hitting Tier 3 in Iconoclast. I think the globe is new, too. As is the blade behind it. That must be from, Yes. Okay, yeah, that's from the final stage of the Dargonis event. Though nothing else here looks to be new. I think we've seen all this before. Yeah, which I guess brings us to a pretty good place to call it. Obviously, we're still not quite done with this event. We need to go confront Confessor Adalbert, who was on my short list of suspects. Though, I mean, let's be honest, I was kind of scattershotting all over the place there for a bit. Though, to be fair, I will say, I'm still pretty sure it's obvious. Well, I mean, obviously, it's not Cabela. We were literally in her head. You'd think we would have noticed. And I'm also still pretty sure it's not the Steel Mistress / Jocasta Sourback. Though it has been noted by some viewers that she may have been infected at some point, possibly during the Crypt Assault. Or possibly in the future. So, I mean, we'll have to still keep an eye on her. I also don't think it's Forius, because he's just really not been... He's not been involved in much thus far. I will note, though, that based on the phrasing that Kibbles used during the big reveal, Adalbert is not our Nemesite. He is simply someone aiding the Nemesite, which, you know, would certainly explain his sort of confused outrage after the Nemesite's men killed members of his clergy during the assault on the upper decks. But, you know, as for who the actual Nemesite himself is, clearly it wasn't the rapier, clearly it wasn't the forge. They're dead now. Clearly it's not Rot, he's just a tool. That might be Hob, the guy we heard lost a hand leaning against the plasma drive. No, I think it's pretty obvious at this point it's Heinrich. You know, especially given his meltdown right towards the end of our investigation there. Though, obviously, if they are going to reveal that, I don't think it's going to be in Act 2. I think Confessor Adalbert's the best we're going to get for our Act 2 offering. Though it does put a nice cap on it. Real shame, guy seemed nice. I'll be curious to see if he's actually infected or just, you know, grossly misled. But I guess we'll know soon enough. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Eerie V23, Revenant, Alois, Dragon Matrix 7, Drakiith, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Kazorm, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.
Death walks with me.